Oh, damn. Oh, hey, congrats, by the way. The podcast is amazing.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you,
I
brother.
didn't even say congratulations, bro. I
Thank
love
you,
it.
bro.
I love it.
Appreciate it.
To have. Are we
You can
recording?
extend it too.
Are we recording right now?
I just have it recording already, just in general.
Like, we won't.
We won't post it.
Okay, let's say, like, she
Yeah.
watches this and she's like, hold on.
Yeah, no,
Hey,
no.
it's
We don't post
Well,
personal things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if he does watch this, that's a
Oh, wait, oh, you're right.
that's a good thing, my dude.
Homie, please.
No, that part I'm not put that in there. Yeah.
That's going in.
So when people think about going into therapy, do they have something about themselves that they have targeted, or do they go in there
Sometimes-
unknowing?
Both. I mean, sometimes it can really kind of be either or. Like, I know people who they had a specific issue they're dealing with, like depression or severe anxiety or whatever. They need someone to talk to, right? Or there are people who just maybe they just need something once a month, just someone to just talk to, right?
Yeah.
Other than so they don't have to like trauma dump on like a friend or spouse or whatever. Just someone who can kind of help them unpack their feelings like once a month.
Yeah.
And for them, it's even just the once a month thing. It's been like life changing for them, from what I know.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't have a correct person to actually open up to. Too.
Yeah.
I think that's a
And
big thing.
It's nice to have like a friend or a family member to do it to, but at the same time, on the other end, that person's going through something too. Like you kind of, if they're empathetic,
Yeah.
you don't want them to kind of like take on some of the feelings that you're feeling too. Sometimes,
Yeah, that makes sense.
No, that's right. I mean, that's kind of how. I mean, I think the only reason I've talked about my feeling itself is for us. I can't talk to anybody in my family about.
Yeah.
You don't need to talk that much to me.
It's hard for some reason. I don't know. I'm very open about talking about problems.
Yeah.
I have no issue. If I have a problem with somebody, I'll be the first to go and talk about it
Yeah.
and like try to fix it or like
No, thank you.
find a solution or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
But talking about my own problems is just, I don't know.
Because
Like,
we're conditioned to kind of like internalize all that stuff, especially us as men.
yeah.
That's the thing. It's always been kind of viewed as like weakness. You know what I mean? So therefore, we always internalize it, or we share it with another male person that we're close to, because they're the only other ones that we feel that can empathize with us, like with you and like Faraz. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think another thing is like, I don't want, like, don't really want people worrying about me.
Yeah.
I think that kind of the biggest thing, right? Because like
That kind of guilt of
Yeah.
bringing somebody down with you. You
yeah,
don't
it's
want to
like,
do
okay,
that.
I feel bad now. Like they're gonna feel bad. You know how family is, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you say your mom something bad about your life, she's all crying and
Oh,
like.
I know.
But then she'll make sure making dua, which is like great, But like,
So it's like, what do? You know what I mean? Because they'll may do it for you, but they're all you also are now the reason they're sad today. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So for me, the question is, do people actually? So does everyone need to go to therapy? Which, firstly, I like to point
do
my
I think?
yeah,
Like my opinion? Yes.
yeah, but let me phrase this properly first. So personally, I think going to therapist is a good thing.
Mhm.
I think so. But is the issue in the world that people don't have others to talk to, and that's the reason why they need to go to like a stranger to talk to a therapy?
I don't know the definitive answer to that, but I feel like with going to someone, like to a stranger, there's less of a worry that they're going to judge you.
That's true.
You know what I mean? As opposed
That's
to
true.
going to a friend who, I mean, you don't know, like, say what happens if you are no longer friends with them, and there's this person walking around who knows your
Yeah.
deepest thoughts and feelings and
Yeah,
things like that. You know what I
exactly,
mean? There's always that insecurity in the back of your head. Whereas with a stranger like this, you walk in and out, and you don't necessarily see them on like a weekend. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think it's like a no burden type of like outflow of information.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You're not burning.
Because it's
anybody.
it's their job. It's their job.
It's
their
like
job, yeah.
they're happy you're here
Yeah,
doing it.
they're like, yeah,
'Cause they're
thank you for
getting
sharing.
paid.
Exactly. I guess what I do for a living. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's an unbiased opinion too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But also, I think us being as like Pakistani like Muslim people, that also changes like their ability to help, because they don't, because like most you imagine a therapist. What do you imagine? A white
White lady. Yeah.
white guy or a white lady, mid 30s, early 40s.
Yeah.
Right. Stuff in my life, right? If I talk to
Yeah.
them about it, they'd be like, that's a non-issue.
Yeah, they're not going to understand like the family responsibilities they have, like the stresses that come with that and stuff like that too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest part. Like if you're going through like family problems, right? It's like, oh no, just move out. Bro, it ain't gonna work. My mom gonna like cry, and my dad like, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Okay, you're being abused by your siblings per se.
Yeah.
Oh, just don't ever see them again. Well, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
I think it's a good skill to have. Like everyone should have a certain self-reflection moment. I feel
Yeah.
like most people don't have that, and that's why they kind of go to therapists
Yeah.
for help, because most people are not used to self-reflecting.
That's a great point, because for me, I know it took me until my late 20s. I'm 29. I just turned 29. It took me 29 so when I turned 29 to kind of figure myself out.
Yeah.
But if I maybe had like a therapist, maybe I would have figured that out at 25, 24.
Yeah, and it's so crazy that you can find out so much to just like a little bit of a problem that someone talks to you about. Like for example, I have a friend, she's a doctor, right? And she's just like, she cares about what other people think, and this is this. And I start going into the depth of it, and I'm like, it's because you're insecure in this certain aspect, and you need to fix that before you can fix anything else.
Yeah.
Because that's the root cause of it.
Yeah.
And so she always gets like so mind blown after every conversation, and she's like, dude, this is crazy. And she sees a therapist too, and she told her therapist, she's like, hey, this is what Fraud said. And he's like, dude, you're a smart guy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, everyone just kind of needs either that moment or that person to kind of just kind of guide you.
You know, I also feel like the world itself right now, as it is, it's meant so people do not know who they are.
I think 100%.
I believe the world is so full of distractions intentionally,
Yeah.
to the point where you won't even think about something of a higher power or even yourself. You don't even know who yourself is. It's just full of distractions for that purpose.
Yeah. And there are many reasons for that. One, you can blame capitalism. We're constantly bombarded with distractions from like corporations and like things, and just news and things like that. Is just stuff we see in the news. Things they're going on overseas, like even with Afghanistan, like that whole story and everything going on there can be instantly out of our minds within the next 24 hours, because something even bigger has happened.
Yes, true.
You know what I mean? Little things like that, where we're just constantly bombarded and distracted, so that we don't actually get time to ourselves.
That's what always happens. You know?
I think one of the biggest blames for that is a 40-hour work week.
That too.
You're working like for me, for example, right?
Yeah.
Work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So to get to work, I leave my house at 7, come back at 6. So after that, you don't have time for yourself, right? The weekend comes and you got to do your life stuff, and then you also are still tired from the work week. So when do you really have time to reflect on yourself and see what you want or who you are?
Yeah, you don't.
Yeah, dude. Like I told you I lost my job in June of 2020, right? And dude, that whole almost a full year, I was just at home. So I had all that time to myself to self-reflect, to read, to meditate, to be outdoors, to do things like that.
Right.
And then as soon as my job started, the past like 2-3 months, like all the daily routine that I had, and the stuff, my time that I had for myself to self-reflect, like gone. It's been such a struggle to like make time for myself because of work. You know what I mean? So that 40-hour work week is such a killer.
And bro, that's kind of like what we were talking about with the solo trips.
Yeah.
He was talking to me about it. What were you saying about the solo trip? Right.
So like I told him, like, I commend him. I admire him so much for going on solo trips, because I've only ever done one, right? And that was back in June for my birthday, right? I went to LA, went to Cali, my birthplace, went there for the first time, and I enjoyed it, right? First 2 days were amazing. Like, alhamdulillah, they were amazing.
I was so lit when I found out you were there, bro.
It was amazing, right? It was beautiful, and but after the second day I was there, like I basically hit a wall, right? Because I'm not used to being kind of like on my own trying to figure shit out. Like, I'm usually I like being around people, right? And dude, after a while, I didn't know what to do. Like, it was hard to kind of figure out. It's hard to figure out how to do things by yourself, like with yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes what I realize the key is on solo trips is to not do something.
That too, yeah.
Because when I go on solo trips, a lot of times I go on long drives too.
Yeah.
They're very long, 3 hour,
you love to
4
drive.
hour long drive. Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank God, dude, when I went to this Canada trip, it had a Camry, right? they had so much functions on the car where I wasn't even driving this thing.
Oh, that's
I
amazing.
literally was not even driving. I was crisscross sitting down with my feet on the thing. I was sitting there kind of like meditating, looking on the road ran. I was sitting there mad chilling in the car ride. So I wasn't even driving, but I was sitting there for 3 hours by myself. The internet, the LTE did not work in Canada, so I couldn't even load music properly.
Oh no.
So think about that. I was just sitting there by myself thinking these thoughts in my head constantly. But dude, I promise you, I came back from Canada a different person.
Yeah.
Wallahi, I came back as a different person.
Yeah. Like for me too, like the last 2 days I had in LA were really difficult.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change that, for
Really?
anything.
Did it help you at all?
It definitely, like, and this is another thing that like I've also just moved out on my own, right? And which I've never been on my own, right?
It's a big deal, dude.
It's a big deal because
It's the
like
biggest thing.
I always had in my mind, like when you're when you move out of your own, it's it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be like, it's so cool. It's your own space and whatever. And it was for the first like week or so, right? Once the shine wears off, you're not. I always assume like once you leave your current situation, you go somewhere else, you get to become this new person and stuff, right? Right? But that's not necessarily the case. You still are the same person. The same burdens you carry that into the new place. It doesn't go away.
Wow.
So in LA is when that first started, when I realized, okay, even though I'm out of this current environment, out of my previous environment, I still have this not baggage, but these things that I need to, that I've internalized and that are just have been kind of clawing to kind of get out, that I've kind of pushed down for forever.
So it seems to me that you're almost aware of what's.
Yeah. Oh,
Holding
fully
you
aware. Fully
Wow,
aware.
okay.
But once you're in your own
Wow.
place
Okay.
and you don't have family responsibility or whatever, like all that kind of comes to the surface, and you're like, whoa, like I knew I had this, but like,
You have
whoa,
to
this is
battle
like
it. You have
this
to
is
battle.
you're fully confronted with it,
God,
like
dang,
fully.
dude.
And there's no one else to help you with it to
Wow.
kind of walk you through. It's you versus you.
Wow.
It's you versus you.
Wow.
And me is kicking my ass right now.
That's crazy that you said.
Yeah.
I don't know if I know what's wrong with me until I randomly find out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens a lot doing the solo trips. Is when I'm there, I'm like, dude, hold on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making big mistakes when I'm back in.
You
Houston.
get that feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have this understanding, and then from there, I'm okay. I got to fix this.
Yeah.
So I do my best to not hold the baggage. Is this something that's like hard for you to like let go of or something, or what?
It's not necessarily things to let go. It's things I haven't confronted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
just my struggles with like my own. Everyone has their own mental health issues and struggles and things that they've
Yeah.
dealt with. And growing up, I just in our own household, because we don't talk about these things, what
Yeah.
do? We internalize it. We push it down.
Yeah.
Right. And then now that I'm away from, I'm in my own space, all of that has kind of come out.
Wow.
Because you can't put a lid on that anymore. Like there's no
Yeah.
excuse there's no excuse to put a lid on it. Because
Mhm.
typically at home,
Yeah.
you help your parents with something, or you just get distracted by something else. But here, in my new place, it's just me.
Yeah.
So that's been an eye opener. And I wanted to ask you specifically this, because are you living at home with family with your wife?
Family. No, not
Okay.
yet with my wife.
Oh, you're not living.
Not
Okay,
yet.
yeah. That's interesting, because I'm curious as to what that would be like, because you've never lived on your own, right? Before.
No.
Right. So it is definitely going to be interesting when you and her eventually, inshallah, live together.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's just going to
Yeah.
be just you two.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, whenever that stuff does come out,
Yeah.
you have someone kind of there.
Yeah. But the thing is that she also has her own
That's the
battles.
thing, yeah.
And so I have to figure that out.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
That's really cool. For me, I can't grasp the concept of carrying baggage. I don't know that feeling. I just don't know that. Everyone's built differently.
Yeah.
I don't know the feeling of carrying baggage unless I went through like a traumatic experience with my family,
Yeah.
which has been the case for sure. But when it comes to my own personal self, I'm very like determined to just end it because I get so tired of suffering, bro.
What do you mean by end it?
Like, if I know that within my own self I'm dealing with something that I have caused, I do my best to solve it. Fix it in a way where I don't feel bad or I don't feel like that baggage is with me. Do you kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I feel like a lot of people do that.
Mhm.
But one thing from a book that I've read, is it talks about doing the opposite of that and why it's actually healthy sometimes to not necessarily fix it, but just sit with it and feel all of it.
Yeah, I might have a completely wrong mentality based off of it.
Yeah.
I'm a very proactive type of guy. Like
Yeah.
for me, if there's something wrong in my life, I have to fix it.
Yeah.
And that might be some type of thing within my own self, but I think it helps. But it also takes a toll on my brain too,
Hmm.
because you're constantly on that battle. For me, I can't move on until I fix it. You know?
Yeah. You've been deep in thought for quite some time.
See, for me, I don't know how it's. I've always, since I can remember, since I was a kid, I've always kept myself so busy that I never thought about, like, I guess,
You?
yeah, me personally.
Yeah.
I've always, I don't remember the last time I was sitting there doing nothing. I've always kept myself constantly busy. I don't know, maybe if it's internally or I don't. It's not like a effort to keep myself busy. It's just naturally I've always kept myself busy. So I don't really, for me to sit down and reflect on myself, it just takes too much effort. So because I'm so used to just constantly being busy,
Yeah.
I've never had that feeling of like realizing these demons I have. They've always just been, I guess, so buried down that I don't even. I think even if I moved out, that wouldn't happen because I stay so busy constantly. I'm always doing something no matter what.
I think that because I've got a friend who's exactly like that, who's
Okay.
just so busy, he's never had a chance to really kind of not confront, but just kind of feel himself, and that eventually, whenever he did move out, and he was busy, right, with work and stuff, but the moments that were quiet, it would hit him hard.
Yeah.
Like not and not like gradually, it would just like sucker punch because it would hit you hard whenever you constantly push things down. It's like a a jar or like a boiling pot, right? Eventually you can put a lid on it, but eventually it's gonna continue to bubble up and boil and it'll overflow. What I would recommend to you if you are interested in trying to figure out kind of more yourself, try journaling. Try journaling.
That's
It doesn't have to be every day, but I do it at least once a week. Just write down like what my thoughts are, what I'm feeling. Maybe three questions to ask yourself: how am I feeling? How's my week been? And yeah, just something like that. Just once a week, and you'll start to kind of gradually be able to kind of be in tune with yourself a little bit more, because it's like a muscle.
Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
actually told my wife to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just me speaking like truly what my thoughts are. It's like, but like, that feels counterintuitive. Like, why would I bring those demons up and out when they're not currently bothering me? And I guess, successfully bottled them up.
Yeah. I've used that same kind of thinking for my entire life, right?
Mhm.
And now I'm to this point where I'm in my late 20s and I'm on my own, and all this stuff that I didn't want to kind of confront because at the time it wasn't important to confront, it's coming out now, and I just feel that stuff like that eventually it does come out. So it's good to kind of get ahead of it now,
Yeah.
because you're essentially building that muscle to whenever it happens again in the future, or whenever you do come across something that does kind of bother you or something emotionally that hurts you, you kind of know how to deal with it a little bit better. If that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And just like you say, you bottle it up and everything, and you're 100% right. It will eventually come out. That's the thing. You can never bottle it up enough to the point where it's never going to come out. And when it comes out, it's going to come out in a way where it's destructive to your life. Like me, for example, I had my own personal issues that I refused to even bottle up or even think about. I mean, who I continue to bottle up, but I didn't even think about it until someone presented it to me. And the moment I confronted it and accepted that was a problem within my own self and then decided to fix it is when I found my wife.
Really?
Yeah. That's when I actually sat down and I was like, wait a minute. I actually do have, let's sit down, let's be honest with each other. Someone else said it. Let's be honest with myself. I do have problems.
Yeah.
I do have problems and I'm willing to fix it. And when I found that out about myself, it helped me become a better person. And in return, if you know how to be the best version of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because you can't have that happen. You can't be the best version of yourself if you have demons within your own self that you haven't battled. If you don't
Yeah.
become the best human of yourself, the best being of yourself,
Or at least try to.
or do your best to,
Yeah.
number one, you're living life not to its fullest. Number two, you will not, I promise you, I could put a wallahi on it, you won't have a proper connection with Allah.
Yeah.
If you don't know who you are yourself, how are you supposed to identify who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is?
So for me, whenever I would kind of, whenever I was kind of going through my own little journey, like particularly last year, with all this, it 100% inadvertently brought me closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
SubhanAllah.
Just naturally, because dude, it felt like I was cleansing myself,
Yeah,
my soul,
yeah.
and in turn, because when I was starting to kind of when these things were hitting me and like really kind of like battling with me, is when I felt the most disconnected from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like I wasn't praying with devotion, I wasn't praying on time. Like I was kind of lackadaisical with things like that. Like when I started to work on my mental health is when my spiritual health also kind of strengthened itself too.
Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Wow.
Yeah.
So like, do you when you go back and think about your life, do you feel like you getting laid off was like one of the changing points?
I knew it was going to be, because I've been laid off twice,
Mhm.
and every single time, both times, I went through something life changing, because I just had that time
Yeah.
to do nothing but self-reflect. Right. The first time that happened, I got laid off from this law firm that I was working at as a paralegal. That made me realize during that time period after I got laid off is that I don't want to do law, which was like scary to confront, because dude, everything I had done in my academic career was supposed to be preparing me for law school. Like I changed majors 5 different times. I thought I finally had settled on a career, and only to find out that I hated it and I didn't want to do it, and I was just like stuck at square one. And that's kind of when I figured, okay, let me figure out more of myself and who I am,
Yeah.
and kind of get back to being me a little bit more. And that's kind of when I was able to kind of grow from there and do more things.
Wow. So how it was a really scary moment when you
Yeah.
were going in one direction and you have like this big roadblock in
Yeah.
front of you. Man,
It's scary.
how do you cope with that? What do you do in that situation? Because you're technically, as a man, we all need guidance.
Yeah.
We all need to know a vision of what the hell we're doing. If your vision got roadblocked, how do you cope with that?
Honestly, it's one, just trusting, like in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That what is meant for you is meant for you,
MashaAllah.
right? Like both times, like whenever that happened, I always ended up strengthening my faith every time. Like not even on purpose,
Yeah.
just inadvertently. Like it brought me to my knees, like not just figuratively, but literally on my knees.
Subhanallah, man.
You know what I mean?
Killing it,
Um,
bro. MashaAllah. I like that.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's whenever like, and it wasn't always immediate, right? It was kind of gradually, and then that was always the first step to me, like kind of getting back up again, literally getting back up, and then okay,
Everything good, man. Thank
and
you.
you know, and be like, okay, now I kind of know what to do. Like all that kind of worry kind of washed off of me, and like both times I was like, okay, whatever is meant for me is meant for me now. Like I get it now. Like I went through something traumatic. The first time I got laid off,
Yep.
that and it just, I was able to kind of from there put my faith in what is meant for me will be for me, you know, and yeah.
Subhanallah.
Yeah,
I love that you said that, literally, because like I went through some hardship within my own self
Yeah.
in order to find out the real value of money.
Yeah,
I had this lust for money.
yeah.
I had this bad
Interesting.
lust for money. Oh God, I love money.
Tell me about that.
It's so bad, man. You know what I say, money changes people?
Yeah.
Allah saved me from that. It was changing me. It was changing me. It changed the
Yeah.
way I walk. It changed the way I talk. Can you believe that? Like, it's really shameful of a thing. Think about Pharaoh. He, like, look at what an evil human being. It changed the way I walked.
Yeah.
And I had to go through, Allah hit me with a big turbulence, a big trial, big issue for me. So hard. One of the hardest things I've ever dealt with in my life. In order for me to understand, oh, it doesn't even matter how much money I have in my bank account. It doesn't even matter how much money I'm making. It just really puts a perspective to it, man.
Yeah, man. Sometimes you need to get humbled.
Dude, you gotta get slapped, bro. Allah,
Sometimes you
Allah
gotta
will
get
hit you with
it,
real
dude.
life,
And
bro.
it sucks in the moment, but once you kind of get clarity on that, it's just
Yeah.
it's the best feeling.
And look at the love Allah does.
Yeah.
You're making a mistake. Allah helps you, guide you to a correct direction.
That was always my thought too. It's like I never thought I was never a oh actually I'll take that back. Initially I was like why me, like why is this happening to me, and until eventually that became thank you for letting that happen to me. You know?
Subhanallah. It's so beautiful because He doesn't allow you to just go astray. I was going astray. That's the
Yeah.
definition of going astray. When
Yeah.
you're getting money and you become lustful for money, you're going astray.
Yeah.
He didn't allow it to happen. He allowed me to figure out the flaw within my own self to prevent that from happening so I can come closer to Him.
Yeah, and you know the opposite is
Subhanallah.
true. Is that He doesn't, you know, like you said, He doesn't let you go completely astray, but He also doesn't allow you to completely go straight either, because you need roadblocks in your life and challenges in your life to kind of allow you to grow.
So here's my thing. Is it
In my
Allah
opinion.
subhanahu wa ta'ala who 100% get what you're saying?
Yeah.
Is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's preventing us from being guided completely? Or is it our own selves who are preventing ourselves from being guided correctly? Because personally, that's what I think it is.
What do you think, though?
I think it's Allah, but it's indirectly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's doing it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created shayateen within each one of us, right? They serve a purpose. What's their purpose? It's to misguide us. So Allah created these things that are meant to misguide us and meant to be roadblocks in our spiritual path.
Well, they're not meant to misguide us. They're there to whisper misguidance to us. And it's up to us whether we want to listen to that or listen to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
But
Yeah.
but us by nature are creations that do sin and do fall. That Allah's made us like that, and it is the shayateen, right? Like, why did Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Why was his shayateen removed from him? There's a hadith that said when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam told the Sahabas that, hey, every one of you has a shayateen inside you, and they asked him, Rasulullah, what about you? Do you have one too? And he said, no, Allah has removed mine. Now, if it's just us as humans who are the ones who are making these decisions, then the best of the best people, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, why did he have his removed?
So I personally think he had his removed because each individual human in today's age, what's our biggest trials in life? Is our own desire, our nafs. Whatever we have, the desires we want to do, the bad things we want, that's our challenge. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't have time for the challenge of shaitan because he went through every single physical trial that someone can think of. He lost his child, he was in battle, he got wounded several times, he got bashed by other people, he got humiliated, he got all the things that we don't have being done to us. So I feel like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a mercy, took away the shayateen because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows he's going to be guided. Nonetheless, he's going to pick the guidance. He has more things to deal with.
Yeah.
He has to, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, be a guidance for us and someone to look up to because, wow, he went through all of this stuff.
He had a
Sallallahu
larger
alaihi
burden to carry than say a
Exactly.
normal human would.
Yeah. So that's why I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala either converted the shayateen with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam because we're so weak that we can't even deal with our own shayateen. We're scared of this worldly life. Oh, I hurt my arm. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam had his, like, you probably know this better. It's something about the helmet, something
Yeah, like
in his cheekbone.
tooth knocked out. Was it a?
Yeah, bro. How often does that happen to us? What would happen if that happened to me? Astaghfirullah, I would cry for like so long. My appearance is bad now. You know? Our issue, I feel like we need to deal with our desires. You know?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I don't think necessarily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is stopping our guidance. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pulling us so much, but we as humans fall for the worldly life and take a little pit stop for our desires. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then Allah
100%.
subhanahu wa ta'ala has to give us a little smacking and say, hey, come back.
Yeah.
But then again, I also think, what if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't even give us a smacking? What if naturally, if you go misguidance, by the universal law, you become in trouble?
Ooh, interesting. Talk more about that. What do you mean?
Just for example, I'll give you a perfect example. I was in
Yeah.
Arkansas, solo trip, and I was hiking, right? It was a 3-hour hike. I made it perfectly. I followed the trail. All you have to do is follow the trail. I made it follow the trail. On the way back, I got lost. On the way back, I got lost because I didn't follow the trail properly. I wasn't paying attention. I started getting scratched up by thorns. I started getting inside. I found myself in this random, completely lost area. I'm like, where the heck am I? Bugs are there. Spiders were there. Spider webs are there, obviously, because no one goes in that area. There's so much like weirdness going on. I had to go back on the trail in order to then be safe. And I feel like that's kind of like what happens in life.
So my question is, how did you get so far off and you kept going after you saw the thorns?
Bro, I thought I was right. I thought I was
How
right.
did you get that far gone? Or you just kept going straight, even though you knew it was like, oh, I'm getting scratched. Oh, this must still be the right way.
Oh, spider web. Let me go through that.
Walked through a spider web. I must have walked through it in the mud.
Yeah, literally. And as silly as that is, just like in this world, when we follow our desires and we're going on the wrong path and tribulations are hitting us, we're still going against it. We're not hitting, oh shoot, maybe we're doing something wrong.
But what is the difference between that being a universal kind of law of nature versus that being Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's like guidance? How do you know which is which?
Here's my thing. Taha said this in one of our podcasts, a genius. He said, evil is not a thing. Evil is actually the lack of good.
Ooh,
Super deep.
interesting.
Did I say that?
You-
Pretty good, huh?
So if you're not following the good 100%, you're going to fall into evil.
Interesting. Elaborate on that, though. No, I'm kidding.
Elaborate on something you don't even know. You said.
I'm kidding. That's fascinating. I like that a lot, though.
Okay, so I definitely want to get your word on this.
Yeah.
Um,
What were we talking about?
Yeah. We talked about a lot of stuff.
We
It's
did.
pretty cool.
We did.
Yeah, it's good. Alhamdulillah.
See, this is what I was saying though. Like, you guys got to make a longer
Yeah.
episode because every time I watch it, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. I'm really invested, and then
We need more
That's
more
it.
of you then, bro.
I'm just like,
In order to make this happen, we need more of you.
bro, say the word. Say the word.
Yeah, real
I'll
talk.
be here.
Real talk. Yeah, it's cool. 'Cause we can talk about random life things.
Yeah, it's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, honestly, alhamdulillah. So one thing I would definitely want to get your word on.
Yeah.
Todd, do you see that video where I posted about that
Yes,
that
that-
huge sculpture,
That statue.
that
Terrifying.
statue? Yeah,
The one with the dagger wings. I just
Yeah.
noticed that the wings were made out of knives.
yeah,
Like
upside down
giant
knives. Yeah,
upside down.
I didn't notice the knives.
That's terrifying.
yeah,
It looked so demonic.
yeah, super. And
Dude, you could feel the energy from the picture itself.
dude, you could. On the back of it, it was a spear of Satan. You know where it's like usually the spear he holds. It's a spear, and then it has three.
Oh, the little prong.
Yeah, the
trident
prongs.
things? Yeah.
It had that behind it.
Oh, that's weird.
Super.
Where in
weird.
Canada was this?
This was in a small town of
Small
Barrie.
town, of course.
Crazy, bro.
I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, how that? Like, the U.S. claims to be such a Christian country. How's that even still allowed? And then,
Well, bro,
then you said Canada. I guess
Yeah.
makes more sense.
Bro, especially like in the small towns. Like any small town
Yeah?
you go to, typically
Why?
it's a very niche community oftentimes.
It's more easier to kind of get away with it.
Yeah, but also there's typically one thing in a small community that kind of binds that community together.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's religion.
Wow.
It's Christianity. It's like a small church. Places like Kentucky, what bonds them together? It's like white supremacy, like hardcore, like super like Christian values and things like that. Like it's those small towns where it's like a breeding ground for like extremism of
Yeah.
whatever kind you
Whatever
you
kind.
choose.
Yeah. I feel like people didn't even know what they were doing over there. It's so weird. But so my question was, when I was driving, I saw that at night, okay? And I saw it from far
Okay,
away.
hold on. First of all, why the hell did you see that big thing with the daggers and the Satan trident? And why was your first thought, hey, let me go visit this at midnight by myself?
Bro, I live for these things.
Not even during daylight.
Nope,
In
yep.
deep darkness.
But what stopped me was a guy who was standing over there. So basically, when I was pulling up to that thing, I saw it, and naturally in my mind, I was like, wow, it was a very intriguing thing. I was like, that is something 100% I could see people worshiping. And I pulled up to it, and that's when I saw the guy who was doing something suspicious at the steps, and then he looked at me and kind of like walked off and kept looking back. Oh, what the heck? And I see all these things at the front steps, and I look at the
Oh,
statue.
God,
I'm like,
dude.
dude, yeah, morning time, I'm coming back.
Can you imagine someone took time to make that too, by the way? That giant
Yeah.
sculpture with the daggers, with everything. They took time to make that.
I don't understand it, bro. And so my thing was, when I saw that, the thought that went across my mind was that looks like something people would worship. And I'm not gonna lie, bro, it intrigued me. Me myself, it intrigued me heavily. The only reason why I didn't assign anything more to it was simply because I know that in Islam we don't do that. That's it. But my question was, is it the human mind, natural human mind that allows us humans to that we just like naturally get intrigued by these grand sculptures, or is it the whispers of shaitan that tells us we should be intrigued by it? And you had a really good, interesting point of view on that.
Yeah. So yeah, like me and you talked about, we talked about kind of like, is it human nature for us to kind of for humans to worship something like that? And my kind of view of this is, just in general, it's easier for humans to kind of, you believe what you see, right? Which is why so many people are either they're atheists, or they don't believe in God because you can't physically see that, right? It's one thing to just kind of naturally we're able to kind of, we believe what we can see, right? I know I have a hand because I'm looking at my hand right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you it takes commitment to believe in something you can't see, which is why, like, in Islam, particularly Islam, like, being a Muslim is a commitment. It's praying 5 times a day. It's a whole lifestyle, right? Whereas, say, if you're a Christian and you have like a statue that you like pray to or whatever, like a little thing of Jesus or whatever, it's in Christianity, not to kind of like bash it right now, but it's very non-committal. You just say you go to church every once in a while, you celebrate Christmas, you have a little statue of Jesus, and that's it, right? It's because it's easy for you to just, it's there, right? But with Islam, it's it takes commitment to believe in something you don't see, and it's natural for us to believe in, to not believe in something we don't see, you know. It is a difficult thing, which is why I believe it's not necessarily shaitan that causes people to kind of gravitate towards that. I think it's kind of the natural human thing to do, to gravitate towards something tangible, something physical when it comes to worship.
It's a really good point. It's a really good point. Yeah.
But like, I feel that. But like, I mean, the statue, for example, right? I mean, you see it, but like, you don't see it doing anything. So why would you go worship it, right? Like, why would someone see this big statue and be like, "Oh, I should worship it"? Because it has like
No ability to do anything.
yeah, it has no ability, right? It's just a thing. Right? So like Hindus, right? Hindus saw a cow, and they looked at a cow saying, "Oh, it's the one of the only things in this world that can fulfill your thirst and your hunger." That's why they worship it, because it was giving them something. But the statue, it's giving you nothing. So why would a human who believes in the seen and what they can see believe in something inanimate that's giving you nothing in return?
I think that, like, so my explanation was more kind of broad, but if we're talking specifically that thing, that there are always like kind of crazy people who are kind of fanatical, right? And I believe that particular statue is just kind of gave them a physical kind of outlet to aim their kind of fanatical, views to. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like that's 100% what I was gonna say. Is like, even though I knew, that statue couldn't help me or anything or harm me, but the reason why it was so intriguing was because of its size.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something weird. I went to Chicago, and then, the Chicago bean everyone takes a picture of us?
Yeah.
Romela, forgive me. I had such intriguing energy from that bean. I don't know why. And I was so confused. I was so confused for so long. I was like, why am I so intrigued by this bean? And I think it's because of the size. I walk up to it and I was just amazed by it.
The bean versus the statue are two different things.
Yeah.
Like, you can marvel, you can
yeah.
marvel at an architectural design that a human made. Like, I'm sure I would feel that way if I were to look at a pyramid, right?
Yeah.
That's different. You can marvel at, this creation that that just exists that that is man-made, right?
Yeah.
Versus something that you know for a fact, like that statue you came across, that just gives off pure like evil energy.
Yeah, that's
things
true.
that people because you said that people are even offering like presents to it and
presents to it, and
that different kind of situation, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that the commonality between both of those things was the size. And so my standpoint is on why it was intriguing to anyone in general is simply because of its size.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because we think about this. When you're on the Day of Judgment, whenever we get to that Day of Judgment point, and the angels bring out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on his throne, I think it was 70,000 angels per, like, or I don't know how many angels, but there are angels that are carrying this throne, and it's so grand and huge that at that moment is when you realize the size of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and how small you are and how much you should be submissive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
I feel that way whenever I watch any kind of either like Animal Planet type documentary or particularly documentaries about like space.
Yeah,
when you realize just how tiny this we're a little speck of
Freaks
dust
me out.
floating in this giant universe.
Freaks me out.
Yeah.
Wallahi, dude, me and Simra, we were in a convertible, right? We put the top down. It was a beautiful time for stargazing.
When you went to California?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I looked up. She was already looking up. She was amazed by it. I looked up. Wallahi. Oh my God, it frightened the hell out of me. It scared me so badly because of how big everything was and how small I am.
Yeah.
That humbled me. I really couldn't look up for too long. I really couldn't. Can you believe that?
Not gonna lie, I love that feeling though.
It's a beautiful feeling.
It's beautiful.
And that's what I think one of the sheikhs said. He said that he believes that the reason why there are a lot of atheists in the world is because they cannot stargaze. Because there's so much light in the world now. Think about it. The more street lamps there are, the harder it is to see the stars. And that's true. That's why you go to a very dark area to see the stars. Because they can't see how vast this universe is, they start to believe they're actually something.
I was just laughing because I remember when we were in Yosemite.
Yeah. Oh, man.
So we were in Yosemite, right? And like we're like, let's go stargazing. So we went to this random like, you're driving on a mountain. There's those little like areas where you go to like either let people overtake you or like.
Oh yeah.
So we stopped there, and we were stargazing. We got on the roof of a V8 Charger. And just like have our feet on top of it, just laying down, looking at it. Long story short, we go to return the car, and the guy's like, "Did y'all like just put your shoes all over the blood or what?"
All our footprints on it, dude. It was so bad, so embarrassing, bro. I just stayed quiet.
It's so funny.
I just stayed quiet. I didn't know what to say, bro.
You pull up to the lot and there are footprints on the hood.
I cleaned up everything.
Like, how the hell did that get there?
Bro, I was like, I thought, it's because when we put our shoes on top of it, implying that we took our shoes off and then put it on it, but I don't know, man. I don't know. It was a really embarrassing moment. So you said it was the human mind that allows the person
human nature, yeah.
So where does shaitan come into play then?
Interesting. I don't think it comes into play with something. Well, maybe.
And that's talking about this specific thing.
For
these grand big things that people end up worshiping.
So specifically the ones that people worship, I think it's a mix of, like, I think it's shaitan taking advantage of human nature.
Facts.
I think it might be a combination, right? Like,
you
see all these people praying to it, right? Like you see, like, even though you didn't see this, right? But all these guys are praying to it constantly. It has to have some sort of shaitanic energy there, because they're all there sitting there praising shaitan, so he has his presence there. So that is definitely like that's a big part of it. Shaitan's like, this is like one of my main spots.
And he does have an energy. Shaitan does have an energy. Me and Taha went to a rave. We went to a rave. Ya Allah, alhamdulillah. Oh
Really?
my God. Oh my God. One of the main guys, I don't know what his name is. I could probably check it out, but a probably better idea not to. We went to a whole bunch of different small time performers. They got done. The main show
Where?
guy came up. I don't know where it was. We don't usually go to raves. This was our first
no,
time.
not like specifically like
In
in
Houston.
what city? In Houston?
Houston, yes. We went to the rave. The main guy came up on stage. He hopped onto the stage. Wallahi, dude. Firstly, they started flickering the lights in a certain way, and then we started getting poured on with something. We put our hands out. It was fake, but it was blood, fake blood. So that already, the imagery is the demonic imagery already. On the TV behind him, all sorts of satanic stuff was going on the TV. And I told Taha, I'm very intrigued by stuff. So I told Taha mid rave, well, bro, Taha, look at that. And by the way, everyone around us is on extreme drugs.
Yeah.
High off extreme drugs. They don't know what the hell is going on, but they feel some energy. I swear, dude. Me and Taha were sitting there. I felt such an energy that was so dark. But wallahi, it was so intriguing. It was so intriguing. Well, I could swear by it.
Dude,
it was Shaitan that was up there, bro.
I feel that way whenever I get a feeling similar to that whenever I'm just watching TV and a movie comes on, a trailer for like The Conjuring or something like
Yeah.
that. Like just little things like that
Yeah.
where I
It
don't
brings
like,
in the demon
like,
out of you type thing.
it's like it puts that thought into you, which I don't like doing. And I know like artists like that, oftentimes their intention is not to be like, hey, I want to possess these people, but they like to just be provocative.
Yeah.
But when you play around with stuff like that, I think it's like tempting.
Yeah.
sometimes.
See, I think it's actually their labels. Their labels who sign them and everything, they know what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
But the artists, they're just focused on, okay,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah.
fame. But that's how it carries over. But dude, the feeling was so
Just
good and bad.
yeah, interesting.
It was the complete opposite of when you go to a masjid. Complete opposite. When you go to the masjid, you feel this emptiness and like you feel this emptiness of the world, but you feel this fulfillment of the masjid and
Yeah.
everyone around you, all the smiles and everything. That feeling, it was such a dark feeling, but it felt so good. And that was the scariest part about it, is that it felt good. We had to leave shortly after that. Otherwise, I don't know what would have exactly happened.
Mm.
It was a really scary moment. It was a really scary moment. So yeah, I can see what Thaw is saying about when people are worshiping that and Shaitan's presence is around there. It has a presence. And the
Interesting.
fact that it has that energy, that presence, people mistake it for either a god, but they don't mistake it for a higher energy. And it is a higher energy. It's Shaitan.
So like, I didn't feel that, but like when you felt that darkness, did you feel it filling you up, kind of, like filling a void, kind of?
Yeah.
I guess that's still Shaitan. That's why people worship Shaitan, because they see this stuff and they see that emptiness in their heart fill, even though it's not with something, but it's getting filled.
It's dark, man. It's the only way to describe it is that feeling of fulfillment that's inside the heart. It's dark. But you don't care at that moment because it feels good. Just like lust. It feels good as hell. But it's wrong. It's bad. But it gives you that fulfillment. It gives you that satisfaction. Oh, God, it was crazy. Oh, God, it was crazy.
And people like that, whenever they do kind of go all the way and experience something like that, the next day they're never like they're never happy.
Yeah.
It's always filled with like some sort of regret or
Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
emptiness.
Yeah. I didn't necessarily regret it, but yes, normally I could see
No,
everyone.
not you guys, because
Yeah.
you guys left. But I'm saying
Yeah.
like people who like they drink or they'll
Yeah,
do drugs
and
in that
100%.
capacity.
And imagine how they felt to do. They were on LSD and stuff like that, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it's like one of those things where like you feel regret the next day, but then when you feel it again, that you feel that fullness again, and then the next time you go home, like the second time you experience it and you go home, you don't feel as much guilt,
Yeah.
and then so on and so forth until the guilt
Until it
just
becomes a
completely
habit?
goes away.
You numb yourself to it.
Interesting.
Think about it, right? When you the people who you know who commit zina, right? We know zina is like one of the like things that like one of the worst things you can do Islamically, right? I can promise you, anybody who committed zina first time, they were guilty, but now they do it on a normal basis without feeling guilt. It's just because, like, once Shaitan gets the hold of it, he
It's hard to
like
break out.
he
It's hard to
he
break through.
he makes you rationalize everything until when the rationale becomes the norm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's once it gets a hold of you, it's hard to shake that off. Because it's not even just with something as far as like clubbing or like zina or anything like that, but even just things with like greed and
Yeah.
gluttony even and
Yeah.
just
And
everyday things like that too.
let's take this on an extremely deeper level. When people are feeling this sort of way that they don't normally feel, the question is, why don't they normally feel it? And then you bring it back because they don't know the presence of God, but they witness the presence of shaitan. So they know some type of presence. But when they go back to their Christianity faith, and I'm talking about majority Christians, I'm not talking about all Christians. Some Christians are very strong in their belief and they feel very strongly towards it. But the people who don't fully believe in it, they don't feel that satisfaction of having the presence of God be in their life. And they basically they have that absence of good. And so the only thing that could fill them up is that evil. And then think about it. It's harder to even feel the goodness for these Christians, especially we're living in a Christian country, I'm talking about Christians here, when they are told to believe in a human being as a God. It's anything is possible. Being very honest with you, if God can be a human being, anything is possible in that sense. No matter what you do, it's not crazy. It's not out of your mind crazy. If a God can be a human, that endless limitations to this world. In a negative sense. It's crazy.
Yeah, really fascinating concept. Not one that I obviously like agree with, but it's just it's
What part
interesting
don't
to
you agree with?
just the fact that there is a human who has powers like this. It versus like in Islam.
Wait, I'm
It's
sorry.
not.
Do you disagree with the Christianity
Yeah, yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes
Because it's them having a belief that there's a person who is a god versus
Yeah.
and say in Islam it's a being,
Yeah.
right? It's easier to in my maybe just because I'm biased because I'm obviously Muslim, but it's easier for me to believe that there's like a being out there, whether or not even if I wasn't like even there's a time in my life where I wasn't super religious, right? Like I would say I didn't become religious until at least freshman year of college, right? I was Muslim, but only because I was born in a
By
Muslim
name.
household. Yeah, by name,
Yeah.
right? And but I always believed that there was like a being,
Yeah.
right? But I've never once been like, I wonder if it's a person, or something
That you wouldn't
as
what?
that I never believed that it was like a person or someone
Yeah.
who resembles
Yeah.
a human.
In all honesty, I don't want to say they've been brainwashed, but they've like me. All of us believe that nothing is impossible to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala.
Yeah.
So they've taken that concept and ran with it. And they've taken it because like when because it's beyond rationale, right? I mean, Islamic we have nothing beyond rationale. Like, but like they say, well, yeah, it doesn't make sense, but it's God. God can do anything. You believe that too, right? God can do anything.
It's like this weird catch-all thing of like he can do anything.
Yeah, like it's like kind of a get out of jail free card.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't make sense, but God can do anything.
yeah.
For me, the hardest concept to believe, and that I don't know how anyone can believe it, is the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us human beings in a certain way that number one we're filled with flaws. We can't be perfect because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala subhanallah we praise his perfection. Us as human beings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala notice this. Every human being lets out waste. They urinate, they defecate?
Yeah.
They defecates, they poop, whatever, What is that? That's filth. That's filth coming out of your body. For me, the hardest to believe is that they believe that Jesus is God, or even the Son of God, whatever it may be.
Both. But yes,
Both.
continue.
That God has this filth coming out of himself.
Yeah.
But my point was basically that if
Okay.
people
Yeah.
are in this belief system of that God can be human,
Yeah.
the statue and everything is not too far fetched. The statue that can bring you power, this evil thing that I witnessed over there, is not too far fetched. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. No. I like how you connected all that together. Interesting. Yeah. It for them it opens up so much,
Yeah.
but like in a really terrible way.
It opens up a physical world for them to worship God.
Yeah. And that's why so many of them lack the kind of spiritual
Yeah.
awareness or spiritual strength
Yeah.
to think beyond that.
Yeah, because just
Which
like
is
you
why
said, it's hard.
which is why they're so susceptible to kind of the dunya and like material things and greed
Yep.
and all that stuff.
That's
Because
100% true.
there's no concept for them of a heaven or a hell or the afterlife or even the spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like what Father was saying, like there's these Christians who like there's some who do worship
Yeah.
properly and they do whatever they can. But other Christians who literally are like, oh well, I accept Jesus my Lord and Savior, all my sins are forgiven, I'm good, and that's all they do. So for them, you can't really feel that fullness of that Allah gives you if that's all you do nothing but you say I believe in Jesus so I'm going to heaven. So they don't feel that fullness. But when they see these shaitanic things and this fullness from shaitan, they latch onto it because they feel full for the first time in their lives.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Super good point. Super good.
Oh, interesting. So because they're not filling themselves with that good that you mentioned, in the absence of that, like you mentioned again, is the evil.
Yeah, the evil comes in, and then they feel that fullness, and like they feel that guilt afterward. They feel, but it's like, yeah, but I felt full. How can it be bad if my heart felt full?
Exactly.
Good point.
It's an evil
Yeah.
energy that's filling them.
Yeah.
That's getting filled up in that void. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense. Yep.
There is one thing I want to talk to you about.
Yeah.
Because we had a conversation about this briefly. It was about skinwalkers and like
Oh, dude.
which for those who don't know are like essentially like Native Americans. They believe in things like skinwalkers, right? Which is our equivalent to jinns. And skinwalkers are people who or things who kind of possess human bodies or they pose as humans to entice people and like get them right.
Yeah.
I wanted to, and they primarily hide out in the woods, like in natural parks all around the U.S. Thousands of people go missing every year, and are never ever found.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of natives and stuff like that believe that always be wary whenever you go to natural parks, which is why I told you like, hey, if you're going solo again, like be careful.
Wow.
And I wanted to know if you ever encountered anything weird other than the thing you mentioned with the statue.
Not in the woods. I have inside an Airbnb that was in the middle of nowhere. I've encountered some weird stuff
Hold on,
there.
what?
Yeah. It is not as creepy as Skinwalkers. I YouTube Skinwalkers and I saw
Did you?
some images and I was like, I'm not gonna watch it.
Oh, dude, so scary.
I've been into an Airbnb where things were moved from its place. For example, me and Summer, we're sleeping in this Airbnb. We're very cautious of what's going on. She's a germaphobe, so she's really cautious about everything inside the
Yeah.
room. In the morning, she wakes up, and a drawer is open inside the restroom that's right underneath the sink. And I went to the restroom, I saw it, didn't even think about anything. I'm a guy, I don't really care about this stuff. I don't really question these things. She saw it, and she's like, ew, first of all, why'd you touch that? And then second of all, why'd you open that drawer? Now look at it, and it's not a drawer, a cabinet. It was full on 100% open. I was like, I didn't open that. And she looked at me, she's like, I didn't open that either. Who the hell opened it? The door's locked, everything. It was really weird. She was a little freaked out, but I didn't really care. It was morning time. We passed on to it, whatever, no big deal. I had some smudge on my pants. I wiped it clean with a towel. I put the towel inside of a corner of the restroom. The corner of the restroom. Keep that in mind. We left the room and Simra went back to wash her hands or something, and she called me. She's like, hey, Froz, come here. I go inside, and I was up. She goes, why did you throw the towel inside the sink? I look, and then inside the sink was the same towel that I was rubbing myself with. I put it in the corner of the restroom. It's inside of the sink. And I looked at her, and you're going to hate to hear this, but I didn't do that either. She got the freak out of there, bro.
Question: did she believe you?
She believed me. 'Cause
That's creepy.
it was pretty crazy. I went to the host of the Airbnb. I'm like, hey, you guys ever experienced this paranormal stuff? You're like, no, but we experienced alien stuff. We're like, what?
Wait, hold on. That's even weirder.
That's even weirder.
Hold on.